just a basic threading of a 5-needle sewing machine. So you're going to go through your thread stand, come down to the first guides. So you're only going to go the first 4 threads are going to be through this guide. This is your lower looper, and you can see where it's going down, and it's going down here, up, and it goes through this guide right there. Then the best thing to do is always pull your looper back and then work it here. Once you get that, pull the thread through and then bring the looper back and get it through the eye. If you ever have problems, you always have a guide diagram right here. And the second one is going to be your upper looper. You can see it going through there to that one. And these, very important that you don't mix up these, because that's part of your tension. And when one goes through the cycle, this creates a loop so the looper can grab the thread. So once you're going up, coming in through here, see, in through there, and then straight up to the lower looper, you're going to get the eye of the lower looper back here and out, and then through the eye. So when you're threading these, you can move them back and forth so you can get to see where it's easiest to guide them. And then when you're going to the far, you're going to go to the needles. So you're coming down, you're going to go around your looper, and then once you get it, you're going to hold one side here with one hand, and then you're going to pull it through this side with a tweezer or your hands. And then we're going with the red to the red and looping it through here. We're going around and back down, and then again you want to get to move it to where you can work the needle. If you can't get to the needle, you can always move your foot. And what I did is just I lifted this up and it lifts the foot, so you can get all your threads here. Obviously this one has been sewn, and you can see that I take it off to make sure that it's doing a nice chain there. And then this is a chain stitch, and this is an overlock stitch. So you want to make sure that that stitch is chaining, locking up. So when you do your sewing, you get a nice tight stitch. And then the tricky one is coming around the back. And anytime you are doing the back one, you want to use a little thread guide helper. So you're going to put your thread through here, and then you're going to push it through these. You're going to pull them through here, then you're going to pull them around out here. You can't see it on that side, but once you come here, you see that the thread goes in there. It's going to go through a little tension, and then once it comes up, you're going to come up through here, through the first loop, and then you're just going to put it in through the top, and it's going to be just like that. Very simple, straight across, and that helps. The same thing when you're looping, your loopers, it's going to give you a tight one, then it's going to go a slack. So then you're coming through here, and then you're coming through this top looper, which gives you this chain stitch. See? So if you had to so sometimes you get stuck, best thing to do, remove the needle plate. Good to cut everything, don't pull. Pull your needle threads out of the way first. Then I start working with my upper looper. I always like to leave it to the back. And then my lower looper, I'm gonna put it back here. And you have to notice that your looper threads are never tight. You gotta start with them as loose as possible. That means the upper and the lower. And you see here, got a little tangled up. So what I'm doing is I'm removing the thread. I didn't pull anything when I saw that I had to remove the plate because something was not up. And that's it. So what's gonna cause your chain stitch is the left needle and this chain stitch looper. That's what's gonna do your... So once you got it here, you're gonna leave these like 3 to 4 inches. If the machine is timed perfectly, it's gonna pick it up. And these, the same thing. But I'm gonna put my plate in first. Once I got my plate in first, I'm just gonna do it by hand. I'm gonna do it by hand. Make sure that nothing's hitting. And that's it. How I know. Almost knotted this up again, so going to pull it back out. And then I'm going to start with some material. Once I put my foot, once I got this, I can cut it. I'll put my foot back in place. I'm going to bring it up. I'm always going to close this. And I'm going to take a piece of material. This is a jean material. Always close your doors because you don't want the loopers or anything crashing. And there, you got your 5 thread. That's what you use a lot of times on jeans. Sometimes they'll use them for stretch materials, like sometimes women's stretch pants. But that's what your stitch is supposed to look like. Here I'm going to use, this is like an upholstery fabric. And what I'm going to do is I could seam these together, and depending on how much you want to take off, if you're doing a big project, you can always measure here. That way you're going to take off evenly on both sides. So we're going to go here. And then I cleaned it and I put it together, and it also has a safety stitch here, which this is like called the chain stitch. So you're getting 2 operations here. You're cutting, overlocking, cleaning, and then you have your stitch. So now if you are going to do a felt stitch on this, all you do is gonna bring this over here and bring it together, sew it, and then you can have a felt stitch on it. Then also, if you have to, you can adjust these. Remember, I always try to tell people to make sure that these things are soft here. They're not too tight. So what I do is I pull it and I pull it back. Same thing here. I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna pull my threads, and then you get used to the tension of what these tensions are supposed to be like. Then once you get it, wind it back up, and then you know that these are gonna be tighter than these. It's not by much, but you'll see it when you're sewing your materials. What you're supposed to get. So here, to give you an idea, this is a jean again. I'm gonna trim it. So if I'm gonna trim it, that's like you're putting jeans together. You're gonna flip it this way, obviously, because once you don't want the bad thread to be the stitch to show on that on the side that you're gonna wear it. See, here's your overlock, here's your safety stitch, and there's your safety stitch again with the chain. And then if you were going to put this together, obviously you're going to flip it and then you got your nice stitch. Now some other manufacturers of clothes will also give you a top stitch here, and that gives them more secure that you're not gonna rip your clothes like this stitch here. See, there's your 5 stitch, there's your chain stitch, and then they sewed it. See, there's your chain stitch, and then they sewed it after they put it together. They ran it through another single needle, and it gives you a stitch. Company True Religion does that a lot, and they use like a Tex 80 thread, or sometimes they use something thicker, but they use a polyester thread. And then you have here, you have the button to release it here. Then you have stitch. You can regulate your stitch here. Once you get to the point where you're going backwards and it goes in, now you can make your stitch longer by leaving it at 7 or bringing it back here at 6 or 5, depending on how tight you want your stitch. If you're doing jeans, it's nicer to have a more open stitch, but if you're doing stretch pants like Lycra, it's nicer to have a smaller stitch because you'll have more flexibility on it. So if you're ever going to have to put oil, you're going to move it here. So when you're running it, you always look up there to see if oil is squirting up. And then when you come to your little window, you'll see there's a little plug in there, and it goes up, and it has to be between the 2 red lines. So that's a complete machine, and this is has a direct drive. That meaning the motor is built into the machine. And you don't have to sew with it all. Once you got everything threaded and going, you can just close the lid. Better to sew. Everything. Here I'm just using it to clean, because when you get some raw upholstery, you might want to clean it before you sew something on it. But I recommend, if you're going to do a lot, to remove the thread from here and also from over there, and then you get a cleaning. And then sometimes you get this, you clean it, and then you can put it together another way if you wanted to. But I'll take it to another machine and I'll show you how to do a felt stitch so it won't rip out when you're required for some heavy duty sewing. And this is what the machine looks like with the door down. Nice machine. Here I'm going to sew this extra heavy duty material. It's like a cow bar. It's like a fireproof material. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew it together. And then I'm going to secure it with a felt seam. So you see how the material got together, but it will still come apart even though you got this safety stitch. So now I'm going to take it to another machine and we're going to do a felt stitch on it. So it's going to come apart. Now I'm going to put this material together here. It's going to do like a felt seam. So I'm going to put it, make sure that I'm going to be able to clamp it down. And you got to take your time, making sure everything is even. If you were using thinner material, you can iron this and you can, or press it, that you would be able to tell. Not bad. And there's your other side. So you got your stitch, and then you're grabbing that material here all the way down. And there's your overlock stitch with your chain stitch. So use this on jeans, aprons, commercial clothing. So here I'm going to do it with jeans, with this jean material. I'm going to do the same thing. This is a little harder because it's more flexible. So I'm going to do the same procedure. You want to overlap it just a little bit. Right there. A little bit more so it won't slip off. here's jeans, work clothes, and your stitch. It's not even, but you get the idea. I'm not a seamstress, but that's how it should look. Should be a little neater in the back, but I overpassed it